Say hello to your robotic brain-devouring teacher. She's getting ready to turn you into a robot by switching off your brain and feeding you a one-way stream of binary data and turning off your ability to think and collaborate with other human beings. She's vaporizing all your other professors and stealing their jobs. And worst of all, she's being hailed as the world's greatest teacher, even though fewer than 10% of her students complete her courses. Yes, this truly is the educational apocalypse. No, this isn't the rejected plot for an ill-conceived Terminator movie for kids. It's the educational future we actually face if we don't think long and hard about how we've been approaching education. But let's back up a little bit and get some context on just what's going on with education. So maybe you've taken an online course before and really enjoyed it, or maybe the thought of online education turns you right off. But no matter what your feelings are towards online education, it's unlikely that you've experienced the full spectrum of online education styles. Yes, whether or not you knew it, there are many types of online education, and there are no real hard and fast distinctions between what they are. But depending on who you talk to, you'll probably get a bunch of acronyms like ODE, or OC, or SPOC, or DOCC. Yeah. But one thing that many are beginning to realize, no matter the form of online education, is that there's a real need for something called Online Collaborative Learning Theory, or OCL. And Romaszewski and Ravitz present this as a conversationalist paradigm that focuses on things like collaborative discourse, knowledge building, group study, and group dynamics. This is beginning to take hold over the traditional didactic instructional model, which involves your typical professor-led lectures, one-way information, and quizzes and tests with right and wrong answers to assess learning. And there's a reason that the collaborative model makes sense in online education, because it makes sense literally everywhere else. As a human race, we've been able to get where we are because of the collective collaboration of everyone, from the primitive human societies that decided to form little clans in order to survive, to grand ancient civilizations, to enlightenment and modernity. We can see that none of these eras or human development would have been possible alone. Our human race differentiates itself from and elevates itself above other species because we are not only social, we are intentionally and intensely collaborative. So collaboration is important to online education. But there's a problem, and it just so happens to be that robotic, brain-devouring teacher that we talked about earlier. She doesn't play nicely with online collaborative learning theory. In fact, she's at war with it. And maybe you don't think you know her, but you might if we call her by her real name, MOOC. Yes, MOOC. In case you don't know what a MOOC is, it's an online course that's massive, as in hundreds of thousands of students massive. Open, as in accessible to anyone, typically offered for free or at a low cost, and online, meaning it's asynchronous and place independent. MOOCs are more popular than ever. In fact, in May of 2015, the largest MOOC ever held 440,000 students from over 150 countries. That's more students than the total populations of countries such as Iceland, Brunei, and the Bahamas. And millionaire investors like Bill Gates and Carlos Slim have invested millions into MOOCs. The New York Times even went as far as to hail 2012 as the year of the MOOC. But how can a MOOC be an evil brain-eating robot, I hear you yelling? It's being funded by millionaires, it's clearly popular, it's low cost, and it makes education available to anyone, anywhere. It democratizes education and makes it better. How can it be evil? Look, I hear what you're saying, but my response does not change. MOOCs threaten to lead education down a dark, robotic pathway because they just don't have the capability to play nicely with the collaborative, conversationalist model we so desperately need in education. And I do mean that MOOCs really can't support conversation and collaboration. I mean, discussion forums exist, sure, but studies show an alarmingly low engagement rate. Most MOOCs in Coursera have fewer than 5% of students actually engaging in discussion, and none of the 23 studied by Stanford had more than 10% engagement. Furthermore, these discussions can't facilitate real group work or collaboration. After all, how does real meaningful discourse and group learning occur when the class size is in the thousands or the hundreds of thousands? So we've already talked about how discussion engagement is abysmal, but general course engagement is really low as well. Andrew Ng, the founder of Coursera, notes that signing up for MOOCs is such a lightweight process. And because commitment and cost are so low, engagement is also often low. Case in point, Ng taught a machine learning MOOC in 2011 to over 100,000 students, but fewer than half of the students actually attempted the first assignment, and only about 13,000 completed the course. I mean, that's still a lot of students, but the MOOC reached and engaged way fewer students than the 100,000 would suggest. Statistics also show that Harvard X and MIT X MOOC completion rates in the 2012 to 2013 academic year were a measly 5.1%. Yes, 5.1. But percentages don't really matter if MOOCs revolutionize education, right? I mean, massive online education has the potential to bring education to the masses, allowing underprivileged students to learn at a post-secondary level for little cost. So how could that be wrong? Well, that's not what's happening. MOOCs are not serving the underprivileged, they're serving the overprivileged. The statistics show that on popular MOOC platforms such as Coursera and edX, approximately 80% of students already had a bachelor's degree. Nearly 60% were employed full-time, and 60% came from developed countries. So if the benefits are primarily reaching those who are already privileged, then this isn't an educational revolution at all. Look, I'm not trying to deny that the MOOC has educational benefits, but if teachers can't possibly handle engaging with each student, then who does the marking? Who facilitates the assignments and the deadlines? Assessment has to be done by a computer. It's low cost, it's reliable, and it does the job fast. That sounds great until we realize that it's not possible for a computer to mark anything unless it's a quiz or a test with predefined right and wrong answers. This means that MOOC instruction, by and large, must be instructional in nature, missing out on opportunities for knowledge building, critical thinking, and problem solving. And, according to the Chronicle, those are the very skills employers are looking for. Ultimately, the goal of the MOOC is to eliminate the professor from the classroom. I mean, if a MOOC can facilitate everything on its own using pre-recorded content from professors, then the need for so many professors dwindles. And sure, a machine might be able to lecture as effectively as a professor, but think about everything else a professor does. They have studied, researched, and published to get where they are, and this is evident in any field or industry. Professors challenge students' beliefs, reject their worst, and esteem their best. Professors advance fields of knowledge through research, debate, and publication. So if the role of professors is to orient, moderate, engage, and enable debate, discussion, and collaborative learning, then MOOCs threaten to trample on everything education stands for. I'm not trying to disregard the fact that technology has benefited and expanded our methods of learning, nor am I trying to repudiate technology or online education. But we need to recognize the damaging repercussions of removing professors and instructors from higher education and replacing them with robots. I mean, in a robot-mediated MOOC society, where's the perspective? Where's the debate? Where's the collaboration? Where's the thinking? If we as a race grow by thinking and collaborating, then to take that away from us is to take away what is fundamentally human. We would no longer be humans, but become like the very brain-devouring robotic professor that has become our master. So yes, you heard it here yourself. The future ruled by the MOOC is the one that turns us into robots. This is the future we face, and yeah, it's a frightening one. So what's the alternative? Well, it's online collaborative learning. Online classes that focus on manageable class sizes, group learning, instructor-mediated discourse, and knowledge building that's informed by research and leads to new understanding. This is the kind of learning that creates thinking students, those who can think critically and solve problems, the kind of students that employers want. Anything less than that is robotic. Why should higher education be full of robots rather than real thinking people like us? Well, that's my spiel. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Maybe you believe that MOOCs are just in their infant stages and need more time to work out the pedagogical kinks. Or maybe you believe that OCL lacks any substantive research to support its conversationalist model benefits. But wherever you stand, I hope you agree that discourse and knowledge building, not memorizing answers and simply consuming knowledge, are the key to education. And that's something worth fighting for. So let us know what you think by commenting in the discussion questions. We'll see you there.